Okay, here's my new to me Monster 797. I had let me see how many miles did I have on it. I had like 720 miles or something like that, or a little bit under 720 miles when I got it. So basically, it's still pretty much new. It's just barely, barely broken in. Not fully broken in yet, obviously. So let's just quickly go over my initial impressions. So it's a gorgeous bike, that's the thing with Ducatis. They make the most sexy bikes, man. The Italians, they know sexy. They're like the creators of sexy. So, anyways, actually, let's look at the starting. I guess at the seat. The seat is, it feels it's not that comfortable, but at the same time, it's not that bad. If you used to riding a lot, then it'll feel fine. If you're completely new to riding, you get a little sore, I guess, or at least probably new to this because every seat's slightly different. The shape and as far as the firmness goes, it feels pretty firm. That's a good thing. It gives you support, but it doesn't feel much firmer than any other seat. I don't think, especially because this is still new. So new foam will always feel firmer than used foam. Right? As you sit on this more, the foam will actually soften up. And from my experience, for my weight, anyways, you're heavier, you'll soften up faster. But for my weight, it usually takes me about I would say about 4,000 miles for me to break in a seat. So every bike that I've bought from new, it always took about around 4,000 miles, 4,000 miles for the seat to feel like it got softer. And speaking of seat, the seat height is it's actually very manageable. For my inseam is 30 inches, and I don't think I could flat foot completely flat foot, but I get pretty close to flat footing. My heels are probably I don't know, maybe about an inch or so off the ground on both sides, so that's close enough. But the one thing I do feel is that, or maybe I'm not used to this anymore because I haven't ridden a sporty type bike in a while, or I haven't owned one in a while. It's been a few years. Is that the leg position from the pegs to the seat? It feels a little bit close. As far as how much bend there is in my knee, it feels very sporty. Not quite sports bike like where your feet is tucked up and sort of behind you. That's just like a super sport riding position. So this doesn't have that. It's underneath you, but it's still up where you have a pretty good bend in your knee. So so in that case, it does feel kind of sporty. Also with the fit, again, I'm not a real tall guy. I'm 5'6", 5'7" on a good day. From the seat to the handlebars, the reach feels kind of long to me. But then again, that was I felt that too when I had my Yamaha XSR 900. The reach felt kind of long to me. So, but I probably because again, if you're taller, it probably wouldn't feel that bad. But as far as the seating position though, even though the reach feels kind of long, the seating position, you're not fully upright. You have a slight lean. I'm probably gonna say about maybe 15 degrees or so around there. So that's a slight lean, and then that's good enough, especially for the most part naked bike. Because when you're going faster, the wind will blast you back, and it will actually help hold you up, support you. My last, or how many bikes have I had now? That the last, I don't know, maybe the last half dozen or so bikes that I've had, the seating position has always been very upright, or closer to upright. The closest one that's similar to this seating position, as far as how much lean I have, is my Zero. And that one, I think the Zero is still a little bit more upright than this bike is, or at least the reach doesn't feel that far. But that bike, the leg room I have is a lot more. My leg is still bent less than 90 degrees of a bend, smaller than 90 degrees, but it's very close to 90. While this one is a little bit further away from 90. as far as how tight that angle is, how acute that knee bend is. The handling on this is it's really good. It's again, I haven't had a sporting bike since my Yamaha XSR 900, and that was, geez, I sold that thing back in 19, so it's been 19, 20, 21, 22, so it's been 2.5 years now, I think, almost 2.5 years since I sold it, so it's been a while. So the closest thing I have, I guess, is my Zero SR. So both, my Zero SR, I think the dry weight, or not the dry weight, but the curb weight on that is I believe 416. And this one, the weight with the full tank of gas is about 425. So pushing it around, the garage and the driveway, this feels kind of, it feels heavier. It does feel heavier, especially with the full tank of gas. It does feel a little bit heavier than the Zero. But when I'm actually riding and I'm in the twisties, I could tell that the center of gravity is lower. So it feels lighter. Whereas the Zero, when I'm in the twisties, the center of gravity, the weight, I could feel that weight. I could feel the center of gravity is higher. So in that regard, this thing is a little bit more flickable. It feels a little lighter to turn in. One thing with the turning in is the fork. I'm not sure what the fork angle. I have no idea. What the rake is and everything. But if you look at here, and I'm assuming this is factory setting because I was looking at all the nuts and stuff, and when they torque it down, they actually paint the nuts. They paint the nuts and stuff, so that way they know that it's been torqued. So I'm looking at this, so it looks like it's the factory setting, and you can see that they already dropped the triple clamp down the fork leg, so that basically lowers the front end. There's not much more you could drop it down. You could probably drop it down for like another, I don't know, maybe 10 millimeters or so, or 8 millimeters, something like that. Possibly, or you could raise it up a little bit. I'm thinking about playing around with that just to see how it feels. But the signal light is kind of the way that they made it to be at this sitting position, because the signal light here, the clamp, for example, on the upper end of it, because this is where the triple clamp's on, so it's bigger. So when you go down here, it actually tapers. It actually gets narrower. So on the signal line, the upper half, I'm not sure if it's halfway, but the upper part of it is more. The opening is bigger. So that way, so it could fit, the wider section. Or down on the lower end of it, it's actually tighter too. So if I say, for example, if I would raise this up, I won't be able to bring this light up. Or if I were to push this down, this right here might not want to clamp much, at least on the top part of it. So I'm not sure how that's gonna work. Yeah, so that's the weight and handling. Suspension wise, it's very firm. The spring on this thing is definitely very firm. Butt naked, I am about 135 pounds. So 135 pounds, butt naked. I think the spring rate on here is meant for someone that's probably closer to like 160, maybe as much as 180, somewhere in that range. So it's definitely firm for me, for my rider weight. Even fully suited up, I'm in my leathers right now. See, I'm in my leathers. All right. So fully suited up in my leathers, I'm probably about 160. So I think my leathers is probably my heaviest riding gear. Maybe not. I don't know. Actually, I haven't weighted them, but I would assume leather is more weight than than my textile fabric stuff. So for sure, fully suited up, I'm at least, I think, 160 in my leathers, and it still feels very firm. So that's why I'm thinking, this bike the suspension, the spring is meant for someone that's at least 160 pounds, if not as much as 180 pounds. So that's that. The back does have, obviously it has the preload adjustment. but the front also has a rebound, and I was playing around with that. So I still need to dial that in for my weight and everything. I haven't played with the preload, but I measured it. I did measure the rear preload. I didn't measure the front yet. I did measure the rear preload, and it's pretty close. So I also assume that that's the factory setting. So it's pretty close to my weight, surprisingly. Very close. Close enough, I would say. And as far as sag, you want sag to be about 30% or so. About 1/3 basically. 1/3 is actually 33.3333%. But I always say 1/3. It's easier to say 1/3, and that's close enough, I think. Or 30%. That's close enough to 1/3. So I need to play around with the rebound a little bit. But again, the suspension is very firm, so you can feel that. So I think that's the reason why it also makes it more sporty too, because of the firmness. Because when you have a really soft suspension, it feels less firm. Like my Throttle, I have set up to be a little bit definitely softer than this. On the preload and everything, it feels softer, and it's more comfortable riding. But at the same time, when I'm cornering or I'm trying to corner faster, it's it doesn't feel quite as sporty. But the Zero has adjustable rebound and compression, and I've been playing around with that, and I think I have it pretty much dialed in. Where this one is still new to me, so this is my first day of owning it. I haven't even owned it for 24 hours yet, so I actually picked it up yesterday afternoon. I didn't leave the dealership. I bought this from the dealership. I think someone traded it in. I bought it from the dealership. I didn't leave the dealership until about 4 in the afternoon, and right now it's only like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. So yeah, I haven't had it for 24 hours yet. Let's see what else. The brakes. The brakes are good. They're strong. The Brembo radial brakes. These actually, I'm not sure if they're one piece or not. I can't tell. I see the casting lines, but I'm not sure if they're one piece. They look like one piece. But anyways, the brakes feel good, but they don't have that biteness, because that biteness, the initial bite, it's usually actually dependent on the pad compound. So these pad compounds are meant for the street, so they don't have that initial bite that a lot of sport bikes have, or at least if you use HH pads, HH rated pads, they tend to have that initial bite. So this one doesn't have that, and actually I like that. I prefer that. So because you so it's more of a ease into it. So it's more controlled that way. It's smoother. It's smoother that way. But it's strong. The brake diameter is I think the brake diameter is 320, I believe. Whichever the case, it feels fine. Obviously chain drive, double-sided swing arm instead of a single-sided swing arm. Usually Ducatis, at least the higher end Ducatis, are single-sided swing arm, but single-sided swing arm costs more money, right? Double-sided, not as much. Let's see. Obviously, it's air cooled. Running around in 2 days is a cool day. It only got up to about 60 degrees or 61 or 62 degrees, low 60 basically. So it's a cool day. The bike didn't feel hot at all. It didn't even feel, well, it felt slightly, just warm. I wouldn't say hot. I wouldn't even say very warm. I always say it felt normal, like any other bike. But maybe on a summer day it'll be different. Let's see what else with this bike. The engine feels very smooth, very, very smooth. Especially on the lower RPMs, it's like really smooth. Like, wow, this is my first Ducati. I've never ridden a Ducati before, so it felt really smooth. As I got up to about 8,000 RPM, that's when you start to feel vibrations more. And being a twin, the vibration, the frequency isn't as high compared to say like an inline four. Inline four, when you get up to 8,000, the frequency of a vibration is higher. So so those higher frequencies it's more annoying. The lower frequency it's less. So it felt fine, very smooth. The power of this motor, it's just completely linear. I mean, not just the torque, but also the horsepower, both power and torque. It's just completely linear. There's no surge or anything. It's just like smooth, even from the beginning. Plenty of torque at the bottom end. You go and you can feel the torque right away. And as you rev up to, again, this thing is still pretty new, so I'm not gonna bring it out yet. I revved it up to I think about 8,000 or so, 8,500. It was the power was just real linear going up there. There was like no surge, no nothing. It's not like an inline four where the first 6,000 RPM that's like nothing. Then when you get to about 8,000, it starts to wake up. Then when you get to more, that's when it above 8. That's when it starts to wake up and it punches in. The power kicks in. This thing is just linear the whole time. Same with the torque too. It felt completely linear. So that made it very smooth to ride. So and it made it. I would say it makes it easy to ride. When it's smooth and linear like that, it makes it very easy to ride compared to something that's peaky, like an inline four. If you use the whole power band on the inline four, the whole rev range on the inline four, it's not as easy to ride. Let's see what else with this thing. What else did I notice? Oh, the shifting. The shifting is very from one gear to the next gear. Doesn't matter if you're going up or down. There's a very distinct clunk. And this is true when I had a Moto Guzzi as well. It's a very distinct clunk in, clunk, 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 and it's a very positive engagement from one to the next. So there's like no mistake in that you for sure you shifted to the next gear or not. Whereas with like Japanese bikes like Hondas, sometimes when I'm shifting gears, sometimes because you don't need as much force to shift gears on like say a Honda. So it's a little bit less effort, but also the gear shifting is more, instead of clunk clunk clunk, it's like schnick 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 schnick. It's like schnick 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 in and so it's a little bit less effort. Sometimes every once in a while, I'm not sure did I get into gear or not on say a Honda versus this thing. You're in the next gear, whichever gear if you went up or down, you're in the in a different gear. So there's that. The shifter lever here did kind of bug me a little bit. So as I'm shifting here, so I guess however I ride, as I'm shifting, instead of just being right there where the rubber part is for the shifter, I'm like some reason my feet keep sometimes going all the way over. So my leg is like pushing, my feet literally like pushing right here on this part of the shifter. So probably because I'm just not used to this bike yet, so that's probably why I'm doing that. But so I guess I'm bringing my foot inboard too much versus maybe I need to bring it up another ½ inch or so, whatever it is. But there's that. Clutch lever, it's soft enough, I think. I don't think it's that hard. It's okay. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. The throttle response, it's smooth. Like I said, the power delivery on this thing is smooth. It's linear. There's no, I didn't feel any herky jerky on this bike. I didn't feel any herky jerky. Even comparing it to my Honda Rally here. I would say the Ducati Throttle and such, I would probably say it's smoother than the Honda. Obviously the Honda has a lot less power. It's like I don't know, what is it, like 1/3 the power, horsepower wise. The Honda has 27. This thing is 70 something, a little bit over 70, so a little bit over double the power. Let's see the sound of this thing. Oh man, I love that parallel twin, excuse me, that 90-degree V twin sound. It's like, oh magnificent. Mwah. It's yeah, it's it's a very addictive sound. You know, and similar to a parallel twin 270-degree crank has a very similar sound as well, because realistically it's all about that crank angle, right? Is what gives it that sound for the most part. Not necessarily the configuration of the cylinders or the angle of the cylinders, but well, I guess you could say that. Yeah, well, not really the angle of the cylinder, but it's the angle of the crank itself. But anyways, the sound is magnificent. Just like when I had my Moto Guzzi, that thing was also a 90-degree V twin. That sound was, they sound very similar, almost the same. I wouldn't say the same, but very close to each other. Same thing with when I had a Triumph Street Twin. That thing was a 270-degree parallel twin, and it had that same similar sound of that crank angle. So I think that in bikes, that's like the best sound. That angle configuration, that really does give the best sound. Let's see. These are the Rosso 2s. I'm not a big fan of Rosso 2s, or at least I wasn't on my Zero. My Zero came with Rosso 2s, and I thought they were horrible tires because they're kind of old. The Rosso 2s are like outdated technology. They're like, I think they're like 10 years old now, somewhere around there, maybe even more. But probably about 10 years old, technological wise. But for what it is, for this bike, what it is, it's not a super sport or anything like that. It's fine. It works fine. Once these tires wear out, I'm gonna put on some probably most likely the new Michelin Road 6 tires. I think the Road 6 will probably perform even better than these tires. Even though these are sport tires, and the Road 6 are sport touring tires, because the Road 6 is such new technology. I think they perform better. If I compare it to my Zero, the Rosso 2s on the Zero versus the modern day sport touring bike tires that I got, the Continentals, Road, what do they call it? Road Attack. Yeah, that's the sport touring tires, Road Attack. Which is kind of the competitor to the Michelin Road, Road 4, 5, or whatever. And I've ridden the Road 2, 3, 4, and 5. I've had all those. I haven't had the Road 6 yet. And I think the Road 5s are better than these ones, these tires. Let's see, what else with this Monster initially. So overall, yeah, I like it. I mean, it's a gorgeous bike. So the main thing I need to get used to is just the ergonomics. Again, I haven't ridden a bike that's more sporty like this. It's been a few years, so I'm not used to that the leg angle, my knee angle being that acute. I'm used to more being closer to 90 degrees, and also the reach too. I'm not used to that reach as much because most of the bikes I have now is more, my seating position is even more upright than this bike is, and this bike is it's pretty upright with a slight forward lean, but it's not fully upright like like on my rally here. This thing is fully upright. I'm literally my body is literally perpendicular to the ground. Whereas with this, it's not. It's still about I would say about 15 degrees or so. What else with this? I think that's about it. So after I put some more miles on it, I will go over it again and see where we're at. Wow, this video got long-winded. Anyways, thanks for listening and watching. See you guys next time.